speeding up expansion plans on a highway that could be underwater anyway within the next few decades. We'll hear from the local leader who wants to suspend some environmental rules to get the project moving. Plus, a changing of the guard in San Francisco.
Thought I'd get through this without tearing up, but it happens.
The parting message from outgoing Police Chief Bill Scott and what people are saying about his impact.
I really don't know if it's gotten better, to be honest.
And millions around the world will have to wait at least a few more hours for a new pope.
In prayer, the Holy Spirit will guide the votes.
We asked local Catholics what they want to see from whoever wins the vote.
We need to all be together.
And later, a legendary singer's Bay Area home is on the market.
Well, we just have a house in Hillsborough, which is near San Francisco.
We'll take you inside Bing Crosby's estate with an eye-popping price tag.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. A notorious North Bay highway could be getting some major overhauls sooner than expected, even as it slowly sinks into the San Pablo Bay. We're talking about State Route 37 between Novato and Vallejo's Mare Island. It is a stretch famous for snarling traffic even during non-peak hours. Caltrans plans to add a carpool lane on both sides. The plan has been stalled by environmental laws and does not address the larger long-term issues facing the highway. But local leaders told our John Ramos it's time to get the project moving.
About the only thing that moves slower than the traffic on Highway 37 is the progress to correct that problem. And now it looks like the state is prepared to suspend some of its own regulations in order to get that job done.
We know that there's this 10-mile stretch of road between Sears Point and Mare Island that is an absolute bottleneck. And it doesn't have to be commute hours. Like this is kind of like an all-day thing. It is a small window to get through there unscathed.
As an assembly member from Solano County, Lori Wilson is well aware of the gridlock on Highway 37. And so are her constituents. So she spoke at a committee hearing last week to make sure that her fellow legislators understood as well.
It is so unreliable that North Bay transit operators won't even run buses on the corridor because it would be impossible to stick to a regular schedule.
The state has plans to widen Highway 37 to 2 lanes each way, but they've been talking about it for decades, held up mainly by a lack of funding. But something else is standing in the way: the animals that live in the salt marshes on either side of the roadway. Some of them have protected status, specifically the salt marsh harvest mouse, the California clapper rail, its cousin the black rail, and the white-tailed kite. The law says no construction can be done nearby during critical periods in their life cycles, and that would have a profound impact on the road project.
Based on their life cycle, would reduce the construction time period to basically about 3 months out of a 12-month year. Which you can imagine, if you can only build 3 months out of a 12-month year, how long that project would take.
So Wilson has introduced Assembly Bill 697, which would exempt the Highway 37 project with what's known as an incidental taking permit. Construction crews would still have to take precautions to protect the wildlife, but the state won't automatically assume that something terrible will happen. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission says that's vital for the project to happen at all.
The way the law is written now, because there is the possibility of harm being done to these animals, work cannot take place. This would allow work to take place in this location.
It seems like common sense, but that hasn't always been the hallmark of California law. Now, lots of regulations, from housing rules to environmental laws to species protection, are being reconsidered. And Wilson may be one of the new species of legislators willing to take a second look at a law's practical value.
We needed to strive to have these aspirational goals, but at the same time, you have to be balanced. So you can't just swing the pendulum the whole other way and not care about people, because the whole point of doing this work is to support people.
In this case, it will be supporting the people stuck on Highway 37.
The current Highway 37 project is expected to cost about $500 million. And while there are still plenty of funding issues to work out, if all goes well, construction could begin sometime in 2027. The separate long-term plan to raise 37 to avoid sea level rise does not yet have any funding. All right, San Francisco is searching for a new top cop. Today, Police Chief Bill Scott got a little emotional when he announced he is leaving the job after more than 8 years.
We didn't know anything about this town except for I wanted to be here because it is that kind of city. We accomplished what we set out to do and made the department better and helped this great city to become safer in the process.
His tenure overlapped with Justice Department oversight of the SFPD. He also faced the challenges of COVID and anti-police protests following the killing of George Floyd. In the last few years, property crime hit an all-time high, but police say the overall crime rate dropped to levels not seen in decades. For some people living and working in the city, the change seems harder to quantify.
I really don't know if it's gotten better, to be honest, in the last year. I would like to think it has, but I mean, when I work over, on Polk Street, and it seems to be same old stuff.
So what's next for Chief Scott? We've learned he's leaving San Francisco for LA. He'll become their first Metro police chief. Mayor Daniel Lurie's public safety czar, Paul Yep, will be the new interim police chief. Yep says he won't be among the candidates for the permanent role, but he promised to prioritize public safety until they find the next leader.
And to my fellow San Franciscans, this is your police department. We are here to serve you, protect you, and earn your trust every single day. We will lead with purpose, discipline, and a deep respect for the people we serve.
Mayor Lurie says Scott will stay on as chief for 6 weeks. The mayor's office and police commission both tell us the search for his replacement is already underway. An update now on a story we brought you last night. The Orinda City Council decided not to start paying the bill for private license plate reader cameras, which had been set up and paid for by residents in one neighborhood to fight crime. Some council members argued it wouldn't be fair to neighbors in other parts of the city, but they said they will revisit the idea next year. The council did vote to add 15 more cameras into the city's budget for the upcoming fiscal year. The city of San Jose is cracking down on abandoned shopping carts. The city council approved new regulations that will force large retailers to take action to prevent cart theft by installing anti-theft devices or paying to retrieve them. City officials admit this has been a major issue with thousands of carts littering streets and creeks. This comes as a related bill from State Senator Dave Cortese, who represents San Jose, is working through the legislature. His bill would allow cities to return abandoned shopping carts directly to retailers. It just passed a Senate committee. The black smoke in Vatican City means no new pope just yet. The smoke poured out of the chimney top of the Sistine Chapel today, and that means the cardinals did not choose a new leader for the Catholic Church in their first round of voting. So let's take a live look right now at Vatican. And there you go. It's about 3 a.m. local time. In just a few hours, more than 100 cardinals will gather again at the Sistine Chapel for the second round of voting. I spoke with Dr. Elise Raby, assistant professor of religious studies at Santa Clara University, on what we can expect behind closed doors from now until there is a new pope. When do conversations take place? Is it casual? Are there organized conversations?
Some of those conversations happened over the last week and a half or 2 weeks since Pope Francis died. And those were happening both in a formal structure called a general congregation and in informal conversations, whether that's over dinner or in smaller gatherings among cardinals. So those general congregations, there were 11 of them over the last week and a half or so. And that's where cardinals were able to speak with one another for, maybe 5 or so minutes at a time. Some certainly went on longer than that. And that's where they would share their perspective about what the needs of the church are at this point in time and what they would like to see in the next pope. The Sistine Chapel is where the voting happens. But then during the long break for lunch or during dinner tonight or breakfast tomorrow morning, there might be some of those informal conversations happening again, where now that cardinals have seen kind of where the momentum perhaps is, that they've had the first round of ballots to count, now is when they might be discussing, how do you feel about this candidate? Why did you vote for this other person, to try and start gathering a bit more details and to continue their discernment process.
When we do see that white smoke and a pope has been named, how long after seeing that will we then know or see who the pope is?
It'll be about 40 minutes to an hour or so. And what's happening in that time is that the newly elected pope will be choosing his papal name, and then he'll go off to a side room where he will be vested in the new papal garments. So those are the white robes that we typically see on a pope with the white skull cap rather than the red hat of the cardinals. He will then go back to the Sistine Chapel and be greeted and kind of formally welcomed and congratulated by the cardinals gathered there. They will make an homage of obedience to him in one way or another. And then he will be brought up to the balcony to be introduced to the world.
Thank you, Dr. Raby. And there are 133 cardinals from across the world in this conclave. In order to win the vote, a candidate needs 2/3 of the vote, or 89 votes in this case. Experts and church leaders pointed to a handful of frontrunners in the lead up to the vote. But what do the people want? A new CBS News poll shows more than 1/3 of U.S. Catholics hope the next pontiff will be more conservative than Pope Francis, while 21% want someone more progressive. But in general, nearly 2/3 said the next pope should speak out when it comes to political issues. That's something Pope Francis rarely hesitated to do. Bay Area Catholics are also keeping a close watch for word of a new pope. A few people told us what they hope the new pope will be like.
To care for the poor, for the needy, also to unite the whole world into a kind of one family.
One willing to depend upon the Holy Spirit on anything that he may want to add to what has, the continuation of what the other popes have been trying to fulfill on earth.
CBS News will have continuing coverage of the conclave and bring you any updates as they happen. You can also find the very latest on kpix.com and the CBS News app. Still ahead here at 6, Bing Crosby's estate is on the market. Brian Hackney explores the history inside the legendary crooner's Hillsborough home.
They've lived here, they had their gatherings here, just an incredible piece of history.
Plus, the Real ID era is here for U.S. airports. We're going to check with local travelers to see if the new rules are causing any hiccups. Have you been wondering how to spend that $40 million that has been just burning a hole in your pocket? All right, well, this luxurious estate, it's in Hillsborough. It's on the market, FYI. It's not just any old mansion. It is the former home of legendary crooner Bing Crosby. Brian Hackney takes us on a tour inside the property, which still feels alive with Crosby's music.
The next voice you hear has probably been heard by more people than the voice of any other person in history.
He recorded the best-selling single in history.
Wasn't it Ba 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 Boo?
Ba 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 Boo. I'll have to show her my scrapbook.
He sold 500 million records.
How would you like to swing on a star?
And 1 billion movie tickets.
I drink to your health. Nah, let's drink to your wealth.
Bing had plenty of bling by 1965 and a modest little place in the Bay Area.
Well, we just have the house in Hillsborough, which is near San Francisco.
Now, 60 years after Bing Crosby moved in, the house is on the market for the first time. All 11 bedrooms, all 5 acres, all for $40 million. Jen?
Hello. Welcome to the Bing Crosby estate.
Thank you.
So here you are in the foyer.
Estate agent Jen Gilson will be our guide.
We have the living room, the library, Bing's office, 11 bedrooms, 10 full bathrooms, 5 half bathrooms. But this is one of my favorite rooms. This is the living room.
What would the family use this room for?
For entertaining, for parties, they would gather around the piano.
And as for the piano,
now you has Messrs. Kyle and Shaw.
It's the one used in the movie High Society.
They lived here, they had their gatherings here, just an incredible piece of history. Bing bought the home in 1965.
You have any idea why he bought it then?
His motivation at the time was to buy this home for his wife, Catherine.
Bing met Texas beauty queen Catherine Grant when she was 19. He was 49. And 3 years later, he proposed by postcard. That very card is on display upstairs.
I have a treat for you.
Upstairs?
The upstairs, Bing's office. We have the primary bedroom. His hats are still in his closet.
These are the actual hats he
These
wore.
are the actual hats that he wore.
The nearby master bedroom still features the Crosby touch.
This monogram C for Crosby in the rug, still in great condition.
And Bing's office next door.
Oh my God, I love this.
We're in for a treat. So this was Bing's office, his desk, chair. Take a look at the records, the awards, the golf awards.
And what about that?
Best Acting Award for 1944.
Where is his Oscar?
I can't tell you that. That is top secret information.
Darn it. But Jen did reveal another house secret.
Let me show you this. See the lawn out here?
Yeah.
Guess what famous animal resided on this property?
Tell me.
Seabiscuit.
The racehorse?
The racehorse, yes. His owner was Charles Howard, who was the second owner of this property. Charles and Bing shared a passion for horses.
Yeah. Nothing like his passion.
Well, it's another day.
For Minute Maid.
Ah, and here it comes, the Minute Maid orange juice.
Some of those famous 60s commercials were shot right here.
Catherine Crosby's most favorite rooms in the estate. Take a look at the walls, the curvedness in the walls, in the windows, which really allows great sunlight in.
From the hand-painted roses to the crystal chandelier.
Everything is in perfect condition.
What a house! Why, it's colossal. Let me hear that note again.
And while we couldn't get to everything... Did he actually play on this chess set?
He absolutely did.
I did find that Oscar. And maybe you found your next home.
And as long as you can meet that payment, why, you can't lose.
We're told Brian put an offer on it. No, just kidding. And we're told it will be up to the buyer whether or not they'd like to keep the Crosby mementos in the home. They've got to keep some of them, right?
Well, we're definitely looking at warmer temperatures on the way all across the bay. The first official week of May doesn't feel like that May gray that we normally see, but it's going to be really warm out there with 90s just around the corner, and I'll let you know what you can expect for the rest of the week and weekend coming up after the break.
After 20 years of delays, the Real ID deadline is finally here. Travelers at airports across the country need to show their Real IDs to board flights in the U.S. Travelers without a Real ID can still fly, but will need to go through some additional screening. Rita from San Leandro was one of those passengers this afternoon. She was told to get to the airport 4 hours early.
It was pretty easy. They just took me aside. They took my phone. I think they scanned my phone and let me go. So it wasn't that bad.
Other travelers at Oakland Airport tell us passengers who didn't have a Real ID were put into a separate line with extra security steps. All right, have that Real ID. I bet, you know what? I bet Zoe has the Real ID.
I do, actually.
I knew you did.
I got it 5 years ago.
Of course she did.
I've had it for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's actually about to expire, so I need to get another one now.
No.
Yeah, so
hopefully you can do it through the mail system. You don't have to go to the DMV.
I haven't even think. No, I do. I still want to. It's the old state.
Oh gosh.
So I have to get a
All right.
California license still.
Don't go quite yet. It's
But
busy.
yeah,
It's
I'm
busy at the
gonna
airport.
wait because it's still a Real ID, so I'm gonna hold on tight to that. Just
You're the
like,
real deal.
Yeah, just like the temperatures are gonna be really heating up through the rest of the week. We are going to be feeling high pressure, the dominant factor when it comes to our weather over the next several days. High pressure means above average temperatures and a lot of sunshine. And that's exactly what we're going to be seeing Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. Look at how deep and dark this color red is that's filling in the Central Valley. These are upper 90s that are returning to the forecast. And even a few of those 90s are going to be sprinkled in for us here in the Bay Area by later this week. While you notice over the water, we are still going to be looking at the the marine layer keeping those temperatures cooler, and the onshore flow is going to definitely cool things down closer to the coast. We are feeling those cooler temperatures right now, though, because there was a very weak frontal boundary that actually moved through. It's the reason that we saw a little bit more cloud coverage today and the reason that we saw a little bit more of those breezy conditions. But honestly, you're not going to be seeing much more than just this. A little bit more of that fog encroaching overnight tonight. It's currently sitting over the Santa Cruz Mountains and parts of San Francisco, along with parts of the North Bay. It's really interesting where you can see these clouds over the South Bay and the Santa Cruz Mountains directly coincide with the temperatures. It's keeping those temperatures a bit cooler closer to those coastal communities. And it's very interesting to see where those foggier conditions and where the cloud coverage has kept our temperatures a bit cooler compared to yesterday at this time. But it's not cold by any means. It's just cooler than the 80s. We are still sitting in the 70s across our inland East Bay and down into the 70s and upper 60s in the Santa Clara Valley, while our coastal communities again in the mid 50s because they're feeling a bit more of that marine layer like we have been talking about. But everybody is going to be seeing a lot more sunshine by as soon as tomorrow afternoon, which is really great news for anyone that has any plans tomorrow or into Friday. Honestly, you'll have to be worried about heat safety by the end of this upcoming week. Early in the morning, though, make sure you dress in layers because we'll be seeing those low temperatures sitting in the upper 40s to low 50s. It's seasonable for this time of year, even mild because of the cloud coverage that's going to stick around. By the afternoon hours, though, like I've been talking about, get ready for a heat up. It'll be very similar to what we felt earlier this week in the mid to even upper 80s across our inland areas, low 80s down in the Santa Clara Valley, mid 70s around the Bay, and then we'll be in the low 60s closer to the coast. It kind of depends where you are. Coastal communities still dealing with a bit more of that onshore flow. But by Friday, look at how much warmer it gets. Those deeper and darker reds like I showed you on the California map. That means 90s returning to the forecast from Morgan Hill all the way up to Antioch and Fairfield. Going to be in the low 90s by Friday. It is well above average for this time of year. Definitely not that May gray that we normally see. So I hope everybody has the potential to get out and enjoy themselves while they can, because we aren't going to be experiencing this high pressure dominating for much longer than the earlier parts of this weekend. We'll be noticing high pressure again peaking on Friday. But by Sunday, those temperatures will come crashing down and continue to cool down into Monday, along with the potential for a little bit of rain. Yes, rain's returning to the forecast, but that's good news. We'll take whatever rain we can get this time of year because it is technically our dry season. So yes, rain may start off next week, but up until then, it's going to be really, really lovely out there. The first official week of the month of May, it definitely doesn't feel like it. So I hope you all can enjoy the above average heat while it lasts. Back to you.
All right, Zoe, thank you. All right, coming up, the Eaton fire in Los Angeles County destroyed thousands of homes and thousands of cars, including a lot of rare collection items. We'll have that coming up. Also a surprise edition. Outside Lands making a last-minute addition to this year's lineup. Rock star Beck set to return to the festival. This time he'll be performing with a symphony, so it'll probably sound a lot different than what you just heard. Festival also releasing its daily lineup. Beck will perform on day one along with headliner Doja Cat. Tyler, the Creator, is headlining day two with Hozier on Sunday. Single day tickets went on sale this morning, starting at $235. It's fun music. CBS Evening News is next. We'll see you at 7 with more local news.